Are there tapes that you accepted bribes, President Biden? Is that true?
Would you comment on the arrest of the former president, sir?
Good day, brothers and sisters, and you're back to Alex Sass Show. Thank you for tuning in again, and per usual request, don't forget to click all the buttons if you're not subscribed yet. I'm sure you are, because this is the best show on YouTube so far, and we appreciate you with all our hearts. By the way, please share the show, because we are shadow banned here, specifically on YouTube. How do we know? Because we've been to YouTube jail. And we're very proud of it, because we're doing something right. And what are we doing here is discerning, because today in the news, if you listen to the news, it's all over Trump got arrested. Legacy media didn't let you down. It told you, you need to pay attention to Trump being arrested. He is a criminal. Well, actually, what is the other story in the news, Glenn? What do you think are they trying to hide? Because, brothers and sisters, every time legacy media is putting and bringing your attention into something, they're trying to take your attention away from something else. And what that something else is, what that question from that reporter directed to Biden. And isn't it interesting, Glenn?
Yeah, it looks like they got all the info on Biden and his son taking money, bribes from Ukraine to send them to start this whole problem over there, and then send them all kinds of money. And, well, they don't want this to get out. So what they do now is they focus on Trump again. You know, they've been trying to get the Trump master since 2015, since before he even started running for the President of the United States. And I don't know, they really want this guy, but nothing seems to stick. He's the Teflon.
You know what Trump had to say?
Impeachment had almost all the time. I think I had 351 minutes. They had no minutes. Okay? I think a lot of people are going to vote. It's also no coincidence that these charges against me came down the very same day. Evidence revealed Joe Biden took a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. Took a $5 million bribe. But the FBI and the Justice Department don't even...
Well, and isn't it interesting? We always joke about it, like, wouldn't you take a bribe? You know, if you were at the highest position in the office. And it seems to be the... really is ongoing story, because like it seems like everyone gets corrupted when they get to the top of the office, but like, you know, you would assume that you elect the person to the executive office, the highest office of the land, with the most integrity. This family, Biden's family, seems to be the most corrupted out of all. Even it's hard to believe, more corrupted than Obama. Glenn, is that true?
Well, champ, I thought you were going to bring up my favorite.
More
corrupt than Hitlery.
Yeah, let's watch her. That's
this one's something.
You know, they refuse to read the indictment. They refuse to engage with the facts. There's nothing new about that. And what they refuse to admit is...
Well, who does she mean by they? You're like, they, them? Or is it some other they?
You know, this is on a track about him, not about anybody else. No matter how much they try to confuse people and how much they try to, raise.
It's interesting, right? I just brought it up, brothers and sisters, that, every time you see something on TV, they're trying to take your attention from something else. And that's what she's saying, like, oh, don't listen to because not even mainstream cannot hide it. Mainstream's like, okay, we cannot hide this. We got to talk about it. It's like, oh, no, don't listen to the TV because they're trying to detract your attention from what's really is going on. And Trump, remember the Russian collusion? False. Remember all this other impeachment stuff? False. And now, again, his arrest, I'm not assuming anything, but I know Hillary. Okay, let's hold on. Let's
extraneous issues. And it's going to be fascinating, I guess, in a bizarre and sad way, to watch them spin themselves up. If you watched any of the news programs this weekend, I mean, their efforts to defend this man are truly beyond anything that I ever thought.
I think she's jealous because their efforts to defend her are now overshadowed by the mainstream medias to defend him.
Thought possible in our country. I mean, it is so profoundly disturbing how this could have been the break. This could have been the opportunity.
You know what's profoundly disturbing, brothers and sisters? Remember
her.
Also remember the Oklahoma building that came down? conveniently the day off when she was supposed to be indicted on whitewater charges. And where were the documents? The documents were in the Oklahoma building that was brought down by Timothy McVeigh, who died. Okay, this is the MK Ultra thing that we talked about, and Timothy McVeigh. But somehow, how many people, Glenn, do you know that committed suicide in your life?
Personally?
Personally,
1, 2.
I think hers is like in the hundreds now, between her and Bill, coincidentally. And hopefully she doesn't watch our show because we don't want to be put on that list. But the significant part about this, brothers and sisters, is not necessarily what she's saying, but what we are saying here is that Trump's indictment now is on the documents that he held in his garage, the presidential documents. And some will argue he stole it and there was, some secret documents. And he's basically being charged on espionage on an act of 1917. And, okay, if you don't know, I don't think any other president has ever been charged on this, but every other president is guilty of this. So, again, it's a witch hunt. Okay, Glenn, do you like Mark Levin?
I don't watch him too often. Sometimes he's good to listen to. Other times, well, he's a lawyer, so
Yeah. He
and being a lawyer on YouTube makes him a professional liar too.
But he's also is kind of warmonger. He was pro this war in Ukraine. He's defending the whole war in Ukraine and other things. I'm not really happy about him in that sense, but he has something really interesting to say about this whole thing.
We have a prosecutor that used the wrong law. And I don't care how many former federal prosecutors and phony experts go on TV because they have a law degree and they think they know something when they know nothing. Most of them have spent their lives as ambulance chasers. Now I know why the people hate lawyers. I don't blame them, except for my wife and me, of course.
Of course.
Here's the bottom line. The Espionage Act has no applicability to this. Tell me how many people have been prosecuted under the Espionage Act since 1917 who were president or vice president up until today? 0. Lyndon Johnson took classified information with him. He had one of his aides keep it. They put it in an envelope. Johnson said, "Not till I die, give it to my library." And then the library got it, and they were sitting on it for 50 years, they were told to, involving top secret information about Vietnam and tapping the phone of Richard Nixon. Nobody remembers that. Isn't that weird? And, of course, you have the Hillary Clinton example. You know Hillary Clinton was never investigated for obstruction, Sean? It's not even that they didn't even investigate her. They didn't investigate her for perjury.
Emails.
There was plenty of false statements. They didn't even investigate her for that. And the evidence is beyond anything that we've ever seen with a former Secretary of State. She wasn't even a former president. The Presidential Records Act doesn't even apply to her. And so the Espionage Act, I would argue, doesn't apply to any former president or any former vice president under the Presidential Act. Why? It's called the Presidential Records Act. People come on the TV and they say, well, he needs to have the law applied to him as it would anybody else. No, it's called the Presidential Records Act because he is the executive branch. He's the executive branch. So he doesn't have to rely on some subordinate. Here are the regulations. This is the way you do it, Mr. President. His power comes from the Constitution. He is a third branch of government. Him. He alone. Everything else flows from him. The framers created a president. They didn't create a CIA. They didn't create a special counsel. They didn't create an attorney general. They created a president. And this precedent that people are talking about, people need to pay attention to this. This was an Obama judge trying to help Clinton in 2012, and the Department of Justice should know all about it. And so should the National Archives. It was the case involving the socks, the sock drawer, and Judicial Watch. Now, what happened? Bill Clinton keeps these tapes, which have highly classified information on them, in his sock drawer, which is a little different than Sandy Berger, who kept them in his pants. But nonetheless, he kept them in his sock drawer. Then he retires. He's a former president. So Judicial Watch brings a lawsuit and says, hey, National Archives, go get those. We want to see some of those. So it gets in front of this Clinton judge, Jackson, in Washington. And what does she say? She reads the law, the Presidential Records Act, not the Espionage Act
or Clinton would be doing 50 years with his wife by now. No. She reads the Presidential Records Act. And you know what she concludes? I'll tell you what she concludes. She says the responding agency, the National Archives, the tapes were Mr. Clinton's personal records, therefore not subject to the Presidential Records Act or the Freedom of Information Act. The government's position was that Congress had decided the president and the president alone decides what is presidential record and what isn't.
So this is, brothers and sisters, basically a perfect example of double standard. And that's why now you understand why people like George Soros are instrumental in dismantling the fabric, executive and judicial fabric of this society when they sponsor election and they sponsor judges running for elections, and when the judges appointed by executive branch, etc., etc. It's to protect them in the later day, right? So if you think there's democracy in United States, and that's the democracy we're protecting in Ukraine, you are delusional, and whatever Kool-Aid you're drinking, stop. Glenn, this guy made a lot of sense.
What he's basically telling the world is, or people who want to listen, is that, you know, we have more laws, rules, and regulations that we've ever had. Yet we have more anarchy, more abuse of these laws, rules, and regulations than we've ever had. I would argue that it would be better to have less laws, rules, and regulation, but to actually enforce the ones that you have and make it apply to everyone. Justice, not just us, not them, but everyone. Then people will have faith in the system again instead of watching all this criminal activity go on every day and they believe that they can't do anything about it.
You think Biden's going to get impeached? I mean, he's right now that article's being put forth for his impeachment. Let's watch this video that we have. It's from Jesse Waters' program. Hey, Jesse Waters, I know you're a very good friend of our show and you play our clips on your show. We're very, very thankful that you do that.
Republicans have seen enough. They want to impeach Joe Biden.
Joe Biden has failed the American people.
Again.
He's failed to uphold his oath of office and preserve and defend the Constitution. Joe Biden has violated Article 2 of the Constitution to take care and respect the laws of this country. So, Mr. Speaker, that is why I'm introducing articles of impeachment against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Now, this comes on the heels of yesterday's bombshell statement from Senator Chuck Grassley that the Bidens were allegedly caught on tape talking business with a Burisma executive 17 times.
The Burisma executive that they are referring to, brothers and sisters, is this guy. Glenn, what do you know about Burisma? Burisma is a energy company, isn't it? And so this guy right here, brothers and sisters,
looks greedy. I don't know too much about him, but apparently what they're saying is it's a $5 million bribe to Biden himself and another $5 million to his son, Hunter Junkie.
So his name is Mykola Zlochevsky, a former Ukrainian minister. So yeah, not corrupt at all. And founder of Burisma Holdings, allegedly, right, paid President Joe Biden $5 million and possesses 2 audio records as insurance to secure the pay-for-play scheme, according to Republican lawmakers. Zlochevsky whereabouts today are unknown. Well, because he doesn't want to be suicided. He's like, I don't have a note. I'm in the perfect health, and I'm gone. After being suspected of embezzlement, well, he actually ran away from Ukraine because he was suspected of embezzlement. He reportedly bought Cypriot citizenship also he's in Cyprus somewhere, between 2017 and 2019, according to an investigation by Al Jazeera, right? So, as corrupt as it gets in Ukraine and trying to corrupt, the Western democracy. That's the thing that we're trying to protect. How ridiculous is that? We have an evidence right here of the guy who's being prosecuted for corruption, who is allegedly, bribing the big guy and his son $5 million each, and let's go back and protect that democracy in Ukraine. That absolutely makes no sense, brothers and sisters. And if you still buy into that, I know you don't. That's why you watch the show. And everything, even that we tell you here, because sometimes we get information from the sources that not necessarily can be supervised and checked by us, but you have access to your sources. So do your own homework. Just remember, we are here to discern. Glenn, do you know the...
Well, they got this, okay? Because there's Joshua David Hawley. He's a Republican senator from Missouri, 43 years old. He graduated from Stanford University, and he went to Yale Law School. They had him going after the one of the top representatives for the FBI about, all this stuff that's going on, and how come you're going after Trump, and you went after Trump, and it's been proven there was no such thing as the Russian collusion. Has any of the heads got fired for that? We should expose them all. He was nailing them in front of it. If the American people were watching it, because you'll never see that on the mainstream media, by the way, because if you saw that, you would say, let's take it all down. There's the Great Reset. It has to start from the so-called people who run government. Government is us. We run them. So we need a reset. This is why they're so afraid of Donald Trump winning again. And you have mouthpieces like Hillary Clinton, like that's a saint. That's the disciple, the devil's disciple making a comeback, and with one foot in the grave, and she's still going after Trump, while at the same time trying to protect the resident of the White House, Mr. Biden, Mr. Pedophile Biden.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the pedophile part in a second, but. You know how he got caught? The Republicans, lawmakers are demanding transparency from President Joe Biden regarding his 2017 tax return, in which his entity, Celtic Capri Corporation, listed nearly $10 million without specifying revenue line items, raising concerns about who paid the entity and for what. In the wake of Joe Biden's alleged link to a $5 million Ukraine bribery scheme.
Well, champ, at least he paid taxes on that bad money.
That also stupid. Why could cryptocurrency existed back then? Well, or I don't know, offshore accounts. Put an offshore account in your wife's name or your brother's name. You have a family. That's stupid, Joe. What's his name? Ted Cruz.
Senator Ted Cruz, from a lawmaker from Texas.
He had something to say about this too.
Existence in the FBI of a report, an FD 1023, in which the informant alleges that President Biden and his family members engaged in a $5 million bribery scheme during his time as vice president. Deputy Director Abadi, is it true that the FBI has a report making those allegations?
I'm not going to comment on that, Senator.
And why is that?
Dangerous.
I'm just not going to comment on...
I know what he's going to say. You know what he's going to say. But is it like he doesn't want to be on that suicide list?
Yeah, he's taking the fifth, right? the right.
No, he's taking is like, I have a right to see my kids one more day. I don't want to be in the car accident or have a sudden death syndrome or whatever. What's the popular thing to get now?
The information we received, investigations.
Do you owe an obligation to the American people to be candid about evidence of corruption by the President of the United States?
That's what, and that's the point. That's the beating that horse to death with the Trump. But you have this, we just connected. We showed you the taxes. We showed you that the guy allegedly has the tapes protecting him on the scheme, $5 million each. We know the FBI whistleblower that exists. Like, you have three things that are pointing in the same direction.
Champ, it's historical. What we're doing is we're witnessing the downfall of the DOJ, Department of Justice, and the FBI in the greatest, most powerful country in the world. They have been using these to weaponize against the Trump administration. They're definitely scared for him to get back in, because then it's all going to come down. So it's the bad elites who are still trying to hang on to a little bit of power and doing everything they can to protect themselves. Good luck.
Okay, let's keep watching this.
This is an area that I'm not going to get into with you, Senator.
Well, I understand you don't want to, and that's why people are mad at the FBI, because you're stonewalling and covering up serious allegations of evidence of corruption from the president. Yesterday, Senator Chuck Grassley stood on the Senate floor and alleged that there are 17 recordings of this informant from Burisma, Ukrainian natural gas company. 15 of them are recordings, voice recordings of him talking to Hunter Biden. 2 of them are voice recordings of him talking to Joe Biden. Deputy Director Abate, does the FBI have 17 voice recordings laying out evidence of a bribery scheme?
What's he going to say?
Senator, I would add also that we've worked with the House Oversight Committee.
Yeah, this is the Senate. We're the other side of the Capitol. This is the Senate. Do you have those 17 recordings?
I'm not going to comment on any investigative matters, Senator.
See, that's the problem. The FBI, and I've had this conversation with Chris Wray, too. This is why you are damaging the institution. The American people have a right to know whether there is serious, credible evidence that the President of the United States took a $5 million bribe. And by the way, if it's false, Chairman Durbin just rolled his eyes. If Chairman Durbin were interested in the rule of law, we would have a hearing on these allegations. But of course, the Democrats don't want a hearing on these allegations. And to be clear, if the allegations are false, you know who could disprove them? Joe Biden. He could call for this to be released publicly. But the FBI is stonewalling.
My problem with all of this, Glenn, it's a theater.
Yeah, but like stonewalling, in other words, putting off the inevitable. You know, champ, we have the same thing going on. Well, it's been going on in other countries, but now we notice that the Trudeau government in Canada is taking a page book out of American politics and basically doing the same thing here in Canada. You know, stonewalling, covering up stuff. No, don't look over here or look over there. We just, you know, we lit Canada on fire. We got to push the new taxes through, the carbon taxes, and we have to pass the new budget, which is increased spending even more,
and give more money to Ukraine. Of course,
give more money to Ukraine and create more inflation. And now they're saying that the interest rate in Canada is still going to keep going higher, just as we just heard like 15 minutes ago that United States now is not raising the interest rate this month. We'll see what happens next month, because their inflation seems to be leveling off or actually dropping. But you know, Jim, if you can't believe the FBI, if you can't believe the Department of Justice, then how can we believe the figures that come out when it comes to the economy and the Central Bank of the United States?
Can't believe anything. That's my point. You cannot believe anything. And like this person, the spokesperson for Biden administration, right? What's her name?
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre. She's been found in violating a Hedge Act.
Yeah, she's basically a government official, but she's putting her political views in front of things. I think that was more of an error, mind you, but she got reprimanded for that.
But did she? Or is it just a warning letter? Warning letter is not really, like, even we got more penalty by taking off YouTube for a week for mentioning Bill Gates saying something. We didn't even say it. We played the video of Bill Gates saying it, and we got reprimanded for that. Like, so
see, YouTube is afraid of us. You see, there's a lot of channels out there, a lot of things going on where they don't want the truth to come out. Okay, so that's why they try and erase it or shut you down or cancel whatever. You screwed on YouTube because of what somebody else said, and we just wanted to put it out there. That's all. Simple.
Is the truth ever going to come out? Like, we know money being laundered now. Like, with all this Burisma thing is just one of the examples. But all the money that ever have anything to do with Ukraine, would it be a military package? Would it be an economical, financial package? It ends up right back into the pockets of people.
Brother, that's apparently their figures, which I think it's a conservative amount. It's over $100 billion of printed U.S. dollars supposedly going over there to Ukraine.
But it's becoming now a mainstream concern, and I think a lot more people are starting to understand like what is going on. We have a debt ceiling crisis here. We have a interest rate crisis, not only in Western democracies, but also in the world in general. As a matter of fact, the EU central bank just announced raising its interest rate. The top value in the last 20 years now, Marco Rubio, has demanded a comprehensive review of Ukrainian aid package. And like you said, it's adding another amount, another $3 billion. No, sorry. They found the discrepancy of $3 billion. It's like a pocket change, Glenn. You're just going outside and you're reaching for you're putting a winter jacket on that you haven't worn in a while.
Yeah, you forgot you had another pocket. And lo and behold, look, there's $3 billion.
$3 billion, yeah. How do you misplace $3 billion? What was the discrepancy before 9/11? Before the buildings went down? Remember they found the missing amount the day before.
Oh, that was...
what's his name?
Military-industrial complex?
Yeah. What was his name? Was the Secretary of Defense? Was it Rumsfeld then?
Donald Rumsfeld?
Whoever was doing the presentation is like, oh, we just misplaced same thing, like something like enormous amount. And the next day, by accident, all those buildings went down. Terroristic accident. And I think the documents were somewhere else, so in that Pentagon wing where the plane hit as well. So now they're looking to also give another package to Ukraine. I think we just spoke about what's her name, Jean-Pierre.
Soul of the American experience. Also today, we are announcing a new security assistance package to help meet Ukraine's security and defense needs. The package includes key capabilities such as Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, Stryker armored personnel carriers, artillery rounds, Stinger anti-aircraft systems, Javelin anti-armor system, ammunition to U.S.-provided HIMARS, and more than 22 million rounds of small arms ammunition to help Ukraine retake its sovereign territory. The package also contains additional munition for Ukraine's air defenses to help protect the Ukrainian people. This is the 40th drawdown of equipment from Department of Defense inventories using presidential drawdown authorities for Ukraine, and we appreciate the bipartisan support of Congress, which has made this aid possible. The United States will continue to stand with the people of Ukraine as they courageously defend their sovereignty, their democracy.
All right, so it's all a theater, right? So like that bipartisan support, they all filthy corrupted into hold this thing. They all have their pockets. By the way, that's not the amount of stuff that she listed. Like we know, like the hammer costs like $1,000 in United States budget. So like, HIMARS rockets, they probably like they say like 150,000 a piece, maybe more. I don't even know how much. It's probably I'm making that number up, but it's probably something enormous. And she just listed the amount of rounds in millions, right? So that costs nothing to taxpayer. Glenn?
Yeah, and all these, let's say the fighting vehicles, the Bradley fighting vehicles, they're getting picked off. The M1 Abrams tanks, they're getting picked off. Those other tanks that came from England, they're all getting picked off, blown up.
We'll do that. We'll do it in the next episode. We'll definitely show that.
Ridiculous.
But also she's saying we are standing with the people of Ukraine. No, you're not. You're lying.
They're
You're
standing
lying.
with the globalists.
You stand with the globalists, and you're killing people of Ukraine. You also destabilizing that whole region. You destabilizing Europe, and you undermining lives of all the people in Europe and the world in general, including your own people. You're lying, lying, lying. I don't know how you look yourself in the mirror, because I know what you're reading isn't true. I know you have somewhere deep inside of your consciousness there. Repent. Repent. That's my only suggestion. I don't know. Like, those people are so deeply rotted in. And Glenn, you know why? Okay, we talk about this all the time, Glenn. I'm going to shift gears here for a second.
Well, just 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were talking about Europe now, it destabilized the region. By the way, Europe officially, as of yesterday, is in a recession, an official recession, but of course they don't come out and say that, where they had 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP growth. And the economic engine of the euro is Germany, and they were into a recession before the whole euro went into recession. So as we watch all the so-called free world entering into a recession, people's focus is going on what's happening in Ukraine with Russia and Joe Biden, $5 million here, and let's go after Trump. And the reality of everything is economic hell. The storm of the century is upon us.
But it starts, again, I'm not going to get sick of mentioning it. It starts with demoralization, and it's so far gone at this point. Brothers and sisters, this is the White House picture, right, with a trans flag hanging between. Some people say there's some violation of some kind of ethical / moral / even legal statute regarding the White House to fly something other than flag of the United States there. But this is what the Western democracies are protecting. This is what they pushing on the rest of the world. And I'm not referring to a cloth hanging there between 2 flags. I know you've seen, and okay, if you didn't, we'll show you here. Glenn, have you seen this video?
Yeah, but champ, what is the political agenda of a
demoralization
transgender flag? That has nothing to do with the politics.
Well, it stands for freedom. It stands for safe spaces. You're already safe and free in the United States. That's the whole point of the stripes and stars. It's the whole point of Constitution. It's the whole point of amendment, the first one and the second one, and all the other consecutive ones.
You're safe in the United States. Meanwhile, Russian lawmakers now have accepted a bill that's going to pass where sending transition people to get operations like procedures will be banned in Russia. So that community now will come over to North America and have it done, where we have the freedoms.
Well, let's watch what. Did you see what happened in White House over the weekend?
Welcome to the White House.
Thank you. Can we take a little video? Hi, Mr. President. It is an honor. Trans rights are human rights.
Are we topless at the White House?
Yeah, he's showing his fake puppies, and I don't mean his false teeth.
Brothers and sisters, Glenn, does that make your blood boil?
It's ridiculous what's going on. And the one beside...
Describe the video. Just describe the video, because we have listeners too. We don't just have the video people, people that watch our videos. We have listeners.
Well, you have Pride Month, and one of the things was a get-together in front of the White House, and then you had a guy who's transitioning. He thinks he's a girl or a woman, and then going topless at the White House. And beside him was
person with a top surgery already done, I guess, the female transitioning into a male, and you can see it, can't tell by the scars underneath the chest, and they went topless because it's so brave. They are so brave.
One of the bravest and most inspiring people I've ever known.
He's inspired?
Look, this is the bravest. This is what they consider brave. Oh my God. That's feminine, right? Yeah. So he kind of recused himself, I believe, because he had to, because that's really is atrocious and awful and filthy. But again, here's my thing. They're trying to normalize not only, again, brothers and sisters, if you choose to be transgender in your adulthood and this is what you decide to do, I guess go ahead and do it. In the United States, you can. We have some people that can help you with that. But my thing is, like, it didn't just started, like, remember how they started introducing it? Like, remember Ellen DeGeneres? She came out first, right? She's like, oh, you're so brave. You're the first lesbian officially came out in the whatever sitcom she had back in the time. So they started like sort of, and then they had gay shows, and then they had other things. And again, we are free. You want to be gay? Be gay. But I'm talking about the whole demoralization process and where does it stop? And now we did the show just recently, I think, was it the last one? No, two shows ago, about minor attracted people, basically pedophiles. People like Justin Trudeau and people like Joe Biden, who takes showers with his teenage daughter. Jill, where are you when your pervert husband sexualizing, pedophiling, and it's disgusting. Okay, if you don't take my word for it, the behavior of this man is ridiculous. You got to watch this, Glenn. It's awful.
You're gonna stand right next to me. There you go. And then
this is what we're protecting at the White House.
Okay.
If that was her fault, if I was her father, beside that, the president's nose would be on the other side of the room right now. Look at that. You sick. Get away from me. Okay, that's enough.
That's enough. She told him that's enough. Look, where's his hand? That's not. What are you doing?
Hey, Angel, how old are you?
Hey, devil. How old are you?
I'm 12. Look, he's not just touching him, man. This is caressing.
All right, sister. I like kids better than people.
I like kids better than people. I'm sure you do. Look, this kid feels uncomfortable. What is going on? What is going on, Glenn?
Do you know what my daddy?
It's all being exposed, champ. It's all being exposed. Pedophilia is at the top. It's been around for a long time. Finally, the people are waking up to the reality of it, and now we're going to gauge the moral value of society on how they're going to respond to all this.
Glenn, what is the hope? I mean, not a hope him. Like, I know there is a plan. Like, there has been a plan by global forces to remove West from being in a leader position as a strong nation for whatever reason. And obviously, there's a lot of war things that muddied that leadership in the last 60, 70 years. But, we can't say that... this country, specifically United States and even Canada, they had some good Christian values at the core of foundation at its creation. Now, the question is, can we actually climb out of it? Because we're actually aware of this. And there is still some power in people's hands, specifically in the United States. They still have a First Amendment. They still have a Second Amendment. They still have movement. They are aware. They have people that, and it's different now. It's no longer controlled by single outlet of media. Now you have things like Twitter, who owned by Elon Musk, and you can go and receive a lot more information on places like Twitter and YouTube that, they have a lot more following than legacy media. So in terms of information exposure, we're there. But what steps do we need to take to bring ourselves out of this degenerate thing that we're experiencing right now as people, as humanity?
It's just awareness. You see, it's like the analogy to the frog in the pot syndrome. If you have a pot of boiling water, you throw a frog in, he's going to jump out right away to save its life. But if you put the frog in the cold water and you put the pot on a burner and it slowly starts getting warmer and warmer and hot, then the frog will just stay there. And, he believes, oh, it can't get any worse than this, can't get any worse than this. The same thing, welcome to humanity. Oh, it can't get any worse than this. Well, first they didn't know, but now they're starting to know. And with everything that's going on, they're starting to say, oh, it can't get any worse than this. It can't get any worse than this. But you know something? It is getting worse than this. And people are starting to jump out, and others are going to follow.
But I think it's back to the whole discipline process, you know, like, and start by leading your local community, you know, start leading within your family, start leading your local community. But how do you do it? You lead by example. Be a better person you can be, man or woman, I don't care. If you're a man, you can go to the gym. If you're a woman, you can go to the gym. You can have some good, strong moral values. You can some strong effort. You can make better choices in life. Instead of going to the bar on Friday night and get drunk, you know, go do something with your family. Read a book. I don't know. Go to the park. Do a picnic. There's a lot of people now do the gatherings where they share a lot of the resource information and energy. Stay away from drugs and alcohol, brothers and sisters. I'm not advocating for you to go 100% sober if you can. It's impossible. I know if you've been doing this, but all those things are poison. They're not only poison for your mind and spirit, but they're poison for all of the things in your life. In especially like things like pornography. You know, like stay away from things like this. Glenn, let's close the show. This has been an amazing show. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, right now I have something to say.
Go ahead.
And it's going to be a right hook to society. So get ready. All this craziness has happened because men have lost themselves. They're not real men anymore. It's the men who are supposed to be the leaders in society. They start by leading themselves. They've lost that ability to lead themselves. So society has been led astray by these evil SOBs who are sick and demented and greedy as all hell. They want all the money. They want all the power, and they want you to have nothing. It's time for the men to man up at the individual level and then unite together and take a stand against this. Through men becoming real men again, moral values will come back into the picture, which will create good family values. The families will stay together. The stronger the family, the stronger the community. The stronger the community, the stronger the nation. And we will never let something like this happen again.
We'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Glenn, for that rant. Brothers and sisters, be good. We love you. Hug and share knowledge, wisdom, peace, and kindness with each other, even with the people that disagree. I know it's hard, but I know you can.